I have never been more excited to review an EP, demo, album, or anything recently. There's this new band called Anhedonia from Michigan. This EP or demo called Irreversible Collapse. Someone recommended me this, and I saw a bunch of YouTube comments like, review this, review this. And when I actually sat down and listened to this, I almost fell out of my chair. I was at work this morning. I played in my car the entire ride. I had like a 45-minute commute from work to home, and I was just completely floored. I mean, this is what I have been talking about. This is the most perfect old school brutal death metal that I have heard in years. Years. It has perfected the formula. I mean, if you were a fan of Final Resting Place, but you thought it was too hardcore and not enough riffs, this is for you. I mean, it has the riffs, it has everything. If you were into like Fatal Realm, but you wished it was slower, this is the answer. If you enjoyed Impure Conception but didn't think it had enough hardcore elements, this is for you. I mean, this is so genuinely perfect to me, and for a newer band, I just was floored. I completely floored. I was baffled. I looked up the singer of this band. It's a freaking black guy. I was like, you gotta be shitting me. I mean, his vocals are so damn good. The production on this is so good. The drumming on this is so good. It's like Repudiation style drumming. The guitars are magnificent. There's actual riffs. There's actual structures. There's like breakdown parts, slams, beatdown parts. There's like caveman death metal sections. Like it's like the beginning of it is like more of like that Final Resting Place hardcore, like modern brutal death metal, like that type of style. As the songs progress, when you get to like the third or fourth track, that's when you hear a lot of like caveman riffage, that old school cave death metal sound mixed in with it. So you get like this perfect, absolute perfect balance of these different elements going into this. I mean, it's like there's a lot of like banished, rotting, dying fetus, internal bleeding. So it's like you just get such good brutal death metal here. And the album art looks cool. You know, you get it looks like it'd be something from Maggot Stomp like 6 years ago. I was just completely floored. I mean, I 100% recommend this. I would, if I had to, I would definitely say it is a 10 out of 10. I mean, truth and behold, this is what I have been talking about, where it was like Final Resting Place is cool, but it's like it's missing that one thing. Like Nuclear Remains, it's cool, but it's just missing that like that little tiny thing. It's like this is it. This is perfect. I mean, this, if you're into brutal death metal, old school brutal death metal, caveman death metal, old school, what, just like any type of death metal. I mean, it crosses off the checks. It really crosses off every single sub-genre of extreme metal in the underground brutal death metal and hardcore scene, the underground death metal scene. Like, if you listen to like Fetid or like Torture Act, like you will 100% like this. If you're into, you know, cerebral hemorrhage, internal bleeding, eternal suffering, Final Resting Place, you're gonna enjoy this. If you're into, you know, like Mortal Decay, Banished, Pyrexia, Impure Conception, you're gonna dig this. I mean, I genuinely was so baffled when I heard this today. I was like, where has stuff like this been? And the funniest part is, if you look at them, they're literally all just a bunch of hardcore kids, and it's like a bunch of hardcore kids that just found out about like New York death metal and like 90s brutal death metal, but it's like they literally just sat there and studied it for months and then just created this, which I literally have no problem with it. People are people are gonna gate creep and be like, oh, like it's just a bunch of like hardcore kids trend hopping, like da 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 da. It's like, no, like these are hardcore kids that came in, like did their homework, they put all of their influences from that right into this, mixed it with their identity, and boom, a freaking brutal death metal classic. I mean, that to me is what this is. It is a new wave of old school brutal death metal classic. And like, if you go on my reviews, I reviewed, Nuclear Remains, Final Resting Place, Voracious Contempt, all these bands that are just shooting up. This, I feel like we genuinely have a new wave of, not like trade band, not like trend bands, like the new wave of like the new Maggot Stomp, like the new like like, like instead of Pit Vipers, it's gonna be like Nike, like, like basketball shoes, like basketball shoe death metal, like not at all. But I mean, there is definitely going to be an uprise of this style. It seems like people have been revisiting, like Internal Bleeding, New York death metal, stuff like that. It's like when people revisited old school death metal revival in the past years with like Incantation, Autopsy, Father Be Befouled or whatever, like stuff like that, like Dark Descent Records type stuff. People then, as like, not like a protest, but like they wanted to be even more underground, and was like, oh, like old school brutal death metal revival. It's like, because you have your New Standard Elite old school brutal death metal revival, where it's like Disgorge, like stuff like more of like the blast bands. So like Disgorge, Brodekin, stuff like that. You have that style of brutal death metal revival, and then you have this style, which I'm fine with both. I mean, I really am. But like I mentioned, you have like stuff like Nuclear Remains that are doing that. I don't want to name any really other big ones right now, because I don't really like. I kind of have beef with some of them. I don't want to name drop or give them like credit. I don't even want one person to view this and be like, I'm gonna go check them out. But then you have like the other stuff, like Final Resting Place, these guys, so it's like, Impure Conception. So it's cool. The brutal death metal scene, I feel, is in a better place than it was the last 2 years. I feel like it was very dry and very dead for a little bit. But if you haven't, check out this band. You already heard it. 10 out of 10. Excited to see what the future holds for this band. Until then, you already know. Send him on a stretcher.